Alright, we're going to take a look at these whip throws. I'm going to separate the videos into each person, so we're going to start with Amouzad's. He's having a ton of success with it right now. Generates pressure, opponent pressures back in, gets off balance, and then does this kind of whip hip throw. He's having a ton of success with it, and it seems fairly safe. You don't have to go towards your own back, nothing like that. Alright, so gets his hook, fixes his shoulder positions, pressuring the guy to the edge. No other option but to try and pressure back in. And the first thing we're going to see before he goes is that opposite of Amouzad's underhook side, that leg of the opponent is almost always back. And I would venture to guess always back, because if it's forward, he typically will attack that leg. Especially Yazdani, if this leg is forward, knee pick city. Alright, so they typically have this leg back. And then as Amouzad drops here, he's going to do almost a 180-degree pivot. So they're facing opposite directions right now. As he drops, they're going to end up facing in the same direction. All right, so that's kind of one of the pieces to this. As he drops, face the same direction, and he twists his hip in hard and pulls their far arm down to get their chest to rotate toward him. All right. Without control of this back arm, the opponent will have something to post and catch themselves. But since this foot is back and the far arm over here is controlled, there is essentially no posts over on this far side. All right, and Amouzad's going to try and put him almost right here. All right, so again, 180 drop, hip twist, opposite arm pull, and the last piece here is Amouzad's head drops super low. All right, like sometimes touches the mat. Here, I don't believe he does. He does not. All right, we see opponent try and post, but Amouzad still got control of his arm. So there's nothing there to stop him. Hits his shoulder, and then Amouzad drives across to finish. Here's the same throw, another angle on the opposite side. So nice. So nice. All right, so again, let's kind of check some of the positions here. Opposite of underhook leg is back, leaving all this space over here for when Amouzad takes this leg away with his 180 turn, because this is the only post holding this guy up right now, basically. All right, so we're gonna see a little bit of pressure, 180, and we already see where the opponent's foot starts to go as soon as he jumps and drops. All right. The other thing to note here is that Amouzad tries to keep his outside knee off the mat. That way he has something to drive across with once he hits. All right. Opponent's foot hits. Still no post this direction. We can see how low Amouzad's head's going. Get some extra pull. That bounces off his knee into his back. Such a nice throw. Another example, pressures a guy to the edge, guy has to pressure back in. Here it looks like his feet were a little more square. All right, so, and again with this pressure, good shoulder position, guy's almost stood straight up. All right, we see him stick his foot in the mat to try and resist from giving up a step out. And again, twist, pull to where there's no posts. Outside knee off the mat so he can drive across after. And the opponent bounces off his shoulder. I think a key thing to think about here is as your head drops and swings, trying to get the opponent to hit their shoulder blade. If you get them to hit their shoulder blade, definitely go into their back. All right, but we can see how low Amouzad takes his head to get that kind of whip. All right, his head is on the mat here. Punches through, opponent basically hits his shoulder blade. All right, and here we're gonna start to see where the guys in the previous clips kept their overhook. All right, this guy starts to try and swim it out so he can try and get it back in between to get his chest back to the mat. Now this will avoid him from going to his back some of the time, but this was such a good pull here. There's nothing that could stop it. So he does end up going to his back, but in the next clips we're going to see where they swim out and end up on their belly. All right, here we'll take a look at when the opponent swims out and what kind of happens. All right, so similar stuff. Opponent's opposite leg's back, throws. This time doesn't go straight to his back, but Amouzad ends up capitalizing on his forearm control to put him on his back. All right, so look, foot goes back. You know, you might even say Amouzad is looking at it to see if that's happening. All right, because as it does, we're gonna see, whoop, drop, twist, outside foot off the mat, head starting to drop, arm starting to pull. Now watch the opponent's overhooked hand. All right. As he starts to go, he feels himself getting rotated, getting his back rotated toward the mat. So to counteract this, he swims his hand out and turns his shoulder underneath and swims out to get his shoulder underneath. So here, throw is only worth 2, and then Amouzad keeps forearm control and attacks near leg and gets a quick little exposure. Oop. So that's what can happen when the guy swims their overhook out as you do this. Another example here of a guy swimming their overhook out. Ends up looking a little bit more like a throw by. Again, same stuff. This leg's back. There's essentially no posts in this direction. So Amouzad is going to do his little throw here, hopefully soon. There we go. All right. You can actually see, okay, opponent's hand is wrapped around Amouzad's arm. He starts to take it out right here and try and like dig it into Amouzad's elbow, and he does get his hand over top, trying to push his underhook out. And as this happens, Amouzad goes for the throw, head low, down toward the mat, and we'll see as he throws by, he just pushes the guy through because he was swimming back inside anyway, and just ends up right behind him. Same concept here, just at the other angle. Opponent tries to fight underhook back in, does his little drop throw, ends up kind of being more throw by-ish as opposed to an actual feet to back. All right, we're gonna see Aliyev try and pummel in here. Doesn't really bother Amouzad. He's got good arm control on this side. Other leg's back. So takes a step, lands on his underhook side. See this arm, even though it's fighting back in, just kind of ends up in between them. Doesn't really matter that much. Aliyev tries to block as he goes around. You can do simple stuff like drag go behind here you know, ends up with a fairly easy score. All right, last clip here. A couple things to look at. Kind of goes for that throw there and there and there. All right, opponent's like, I'm tired of it. Quit swinging me around. And then does a little bit of the same type of throw when the guy's on his knee. All right, so the first thing I want to actually draw attention to is what Amouzad does with this block. Just reaches across and grabs it. Simple. Reaches across, says, nope, you're not blocking. All right, and then goes straight in to his throw. Okay. Opponent's feet are a little more square. There's not a ton of pressure happening here. So I think that's one of the reasons this throw doesn't quite work. The other is opponent gets his inside leg in front as a post. All right, so typically when he goes to throw, there's no post over here. All right, this foot doesn't get in front to post. Instead, it's his inside foot that steps in to get over there to post. All right, so we see him pick it up, like cross step it across, and then square back up. Right there, he gets his outside foot to post. All right, so, and we can see that the direction and head drop is not as great on this one. Then one more time, gets him to his knee, like more of a snap. All right, now here, similar kind of throw. He's gonna hop in using his hip to start to pressure and pull and head drop and move him out in front where there's not any post. And again, arm over top means that the guy's not gonna go to his back. All right, but here Amouzad keeps arm, tacks leg, and gets a cheap little exposure on the edge.